So in the final few minutes that we have left here, I want to talk about this rumor that's been running rampant over the wrestling world over the last couple of days. The possibility of Dolph Ziggler potentially leaving WWE when his contract expires in a few months. I believe after SummerSlam. I've been reading a lot of contradicting reports, and it's not come from a reliable source. It only came from, I believe, the MLW Radio. I'm a former creative writer. I believe related it to John Morrison's situation, if you can recall, back in 2011 when John Morrison's contract was coming up, and I believe in November, and he said that he was on his way out of the company, do something with me or I'm out of here, and they didn't do anything with him, and they let him go. I mean, I know he had that one-off feud with Ziggler for the U.S. Championship, but other than that, though, he really wasn't doing much of note. He was being jobbed out to Del Rio and Barrett and R-Truth in like mere minutes on Raw. I just remember being so surprised that, that match with R-Truth when he came back from injury that summer on that awesome episode of Raw, my favorite episode of Raw from 2011, the night where CM Punk came back and Jim Ross returned and John Morrison obviously returned that night as well, but you would never know it because that feud went nowhere. They had so much heat on that feud between Morrison and Truth. There was so much riding on it, so much history, and then they gave the match away like days before SummerSlam, and I know they had a 6-man tag team match at the pay-per-view, but Truth versus Morrison should have happened one-on-one at SummerSlam, and they dropped the ball on it for whatever reason. In the months that followed, he did nothing, and he left the company. But the point I'm trying to make here is that Morrison never realized his full potential in WWE. I know his mic skills were never the greatest, but there's really no reason why they could not have given him at least a one-off run with the World Heavyweight Championship over on SmackDown. He was very popular. He was very good in the ring. He had a lot of breakout matches against Sheamus and Jericho, a number of other names, Jeff Hardy and CM Punk over on the SmackDown brand back in 2009, I remember. But Ziggler is very much, whoever made that comparison, I forgot what his name was, Court Bauer maybe, I think that's a perfect comparison. Now, later on that night after Raw, I read a different report saying that a former TNA creative writer said that Ziggler has been praising the TNA shows for a while, and that he wishes that his contract could have been up sooner so he can jump over there, and whatever else, kind of making the assumption that, making people believe that Dolph Ziggler could be TNA bound once his contract expires. Never say never. Personally, I don't think that's the case. I think Ziggler, there was a very realistic chance he could leave the company, and although as much as I want him to stay, I think, good for him. As long as he's happy, that's really all that matters. But I believe, if they're not going to do anything with him, like right now, what the hell is he doing? I know he's with Lana, and he's not jobbing out on Superstars or anything like that like he was a while ago, about a year or two ago, when he got heat on himself for remarks that he made about Randy Orton or John Cena over SummerSlam weekend back in 2013, I think it was. So at least he's doing something of note. He's still picking up wins, but this is the same guy that, a former TNA, a former 2-time World Heavyweight Champion in the WWE, the same guy who single-handedly, I know with a little help of Sting and whatever else, but he was the sole survivor in the main event of Survivor Series late last year. And I know that the Authority being brought back kind of hindered his momentum and whatever, kind of tarnished that win for him. But even when he was at his peak, winning back the Intercontinental Championship in his hometown of Cleveland at TLC in a fantastic match, fantastic ladder match against Luke Harper at the start of the pay-per-view, they have done next to nothing with this guy. And I'm not saying the answer is to give him another US or IC title reign. If they don't push him as the main event caliber wrestler that he is, then he might as well leave. There is nothing left for him to do. He's a multi-time tag team world heavyweight champion, IC champion, WWE Intercontinental Champion, whatever. I believe if they're not going to give him the World Championship run that he deserves, and, he has all the tools to be a top guy in that company, but they're not pushing him for whatever reason. And there is no excuse as to why he can't realistically main event a pay-per-view with Seth Rollins for that WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I know I love Dean Ambrose, love Randy Orton, love Roman Reigns, but there is no reason why he could not have been added into that mix over the last couple of months. I enjoyed his matches with Sheamus. I enjoyed his matches with Sheamus over, since WrestleMania. But since then, though, he really has not been doing anything. I know the feud with Rusev kind of got derailed because of Rusev's injury, whatever, but they could be doing so much more with him. But the point I'm trying to make is that, going back to what I was saying before, honestly, I don't think he's TNA bound. I don't know why he would want to be. I know in all the reports that I was reading about that after Raw concluded last night, a lot of people were making jokes that, why would he want to jump onto a sinking ship in a company that may not even have a TV deal right now, and that's not getting all the best of press right now in the wrestling world. And I absolutely agree. That does not make much sense. I know he's not a money guy. He loves wrestling, but even if he doesn't pursue wrestling after he's done with WWE, there's a lot of other things he could possibly do. I know he's done acting before, he's a stand-up comedian. How successful that would be, I have no idea, but it's worth a shot, though. People laughed at The Rock when he left wrestling and jumped into Hollywood. People thought he would fail, and look at him now. I saw San Andreas last week with him as the main star, and he was fantastic. But back to Dolph Ziggler, though, I feel like, even if he does leave WWE and as much it would suck, as much as it would suck, because I think the guy is great. He's an awesome wrestler, an awesome character. He's really over with the people. But if they're not going to do anything with him, I can absolutely understand where he's coming from in him leaving the company. In terms of other wrestling promotions he can go to, I could definitely see him in Lucha Underground. I think him and Morrison could rip it up over there. Him in Ring of Honor, that'd be amazing. Him and AJ Styles, Adam Cole, Jay Lethal. All the talent they have over there in Ring of Honor right now. They would love the guy. The Ring of Honor faithful would love Dolph Ziggler. But TNA, again, never say never, but I thought John Morrison was TNA bound once he left WWE a couple years ago. And I believe he was still with Melina at that point. I don't think they're together anymore now. But I figured they would go over to TNA as a unit, and they never did. John Morrison stayed on the indies. He did more acting for a while before making the jump over to Lucha Underground just late last year, and he's been one of the product's main stars since then. I think they're great, and he's doing an awesome job over there, so there's really no need for him to go over to TNA. And the same thing with Dolph Ziggler. I feel like if they're not going to pay him as much as he was getting in WWE, give him the world title ASAP like they would have done to Del Rio. Like, why even bother? It's not. I enjoy TNA. I think they're good. I don't think Ziggler and TNA are a good fit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does make the jump, but I have no idea. Bottom line is this, though. If Dolph Ziggler does indeed leave WWE once his contract expires in a few months, I do not blame him at all. Unless they give him a run as a main event star like he is long overdue for, there is really no point in him sticking around. If he's not happy with where he's at in the card, begging for more money and whatever else, at least in this case, it makes sense. That Ziggler's a guy that's been there, and it's funny because right before this whole report, everything about this started coming out, I wrote an article last week for Bleacher Report about the top 10 most underutilized guys in WWE right now, and he was number 4, 5, or 6. This guy, like I said in that article, has been with the company for the last 10 years. And they have given him a lot of start and stop pushes to the point where people, no matter how much he loses, and he goes on the record and saying this all the time, he's still over. And I don't think, he needs wrestling. He could still do wrestling if he wants to, but there's a lot of other options. He has a lot of mainstream appeal where he can do other things if he was to leave WWE. It would not surprise me. It would disappoint me because I want to see him stick around and get his long overdue push. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's in the cards, so wherever he goes, as long as he's happy, I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for Dolph Ziggler.